section 913 is titled Evaluating Trigonometric Values Using the Unit Circle. Okay, so yesterday I gave you that extra copy. So instead of having to flip back and forth in your packet, like it's going to be useful to you to have that extra copy out so you don't have to like go here and go there. So you can have it right next to where you're writing and looking at it and referencing it at the same time. I also put a PDF of it in the Chapter 9 folder in Schoology. So if you want to print more or you want to look at it or whatever you would like to do with it, there's a PDF of it. You can also Google it and get a super nice one if you want. All right, so for this lesson, by the end of the lesson, you will be able to evaluate your trigonometric values using the unit circle. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is how to calculate different ratios or angles or whatever they want you to find based on the information you are given in your, unit circle, okay? So if you'll remember that sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, the tangent is going to end up being, I wrote it down at the bottom, we'll write it in a second, sine over cosine. So for this angle theta right here, and mine was super light, so I had to trace over it. From that angle, the opposite is side y, so I put that in the numerator, and the hypotenuse is 1, I put that in the denominator, and y over 1 reduces to just y. Same thing with the cosine. So from that angle theta, you want the adjacent, which is the x right here, over the hypotenuse, which is still 1, and then that reduces to x, okay? So how do we get this point xy? When you see the points all over your unit circle, the cosine ratio is going to come first, and then the sine is going to come second, which is backwards of like how it is on your calculator and how you always think of it, sine, cosine, tangent, right? Yes? They gave that one to us. Yeah. Mine was super faint and I had to trace over it. So I don't know if yours is fainted too. Really fainted? Yes. Really fainted. Okay. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to be using, and you can flip back and forth in your packet if you want to pages 13 and 14, but I highly recommend your extra copy, right? So you can just look at it real quick. We're going to be evaluating sine and cosine using that unit circle, okay? So if you go on your unit circle and you go negative 60 degrees, you're going to find the cosine. So go on your unit circle, negative 60 degrees has a coterminal angle with what? What quadrant would that be in? Fourth quadrant, and you would start at 360 and subtract 60, which would make it how much? 300. So at 300, you should have a set of parentheses there, right? The first number is going to be your cosine. The second number will be your sine. So what's the first number? 1/2. Everybody find it on their unit circle? You see it? No. Okay. Who's saying no? All right. Now let's look down at the bottom. So now they want you to evaluate tangent using the unit circle. So for tangent, we're going to use the sine divided by the cosine. Okay, so if they want the tangent of 60, you're going to go on your unit circle to 60 degrees. You're going to discover that the sine of 60 degrees is the square root of 3 over 2. Write that down. Then you're going to stay in the same spot and you're going to write down the cosine of 60, which is 1/2. So the tangent of 60 is going to be the sine divided by the cosine, which is, you guys know the rule about multiplying by the reciprocal. So you flip it and multiply instead of dividing. Makes it a little easier. The 2's are going to cancel. You'll have rad 3 over 1, which reduces to rad 3. All right, at the top of page 16, you're just going to practice until you are like, okay, I'm sick of this, okay? So I'm going to do the first 3 with you, and then the rest you'll do in your groups of 4. So what is the value of each trigonometric ratio? So for number 1, they want the cosine of 150, so you go to 150. You look at the first number, which is negative rad 3 over 2. For number 2 on this side, they want the sine of 210. So you're going to go to 210 degrees. The sine should be the second number, which should be negative 1/2. For number 3, they want the cosine of negative 90. Make sure you go backwards. And then the cosine would be the first number, which is 0. More practice on page 17. Yeah, it's having you basically do the same thing over and over and over. And then at the bottom, you're just going to answer your questions 1 through 1, 2, 3 with your team. Okay? All right, go ahead and turn your desks in.